What's up, everybody, and welcome to the ITG Gamecast. As always, I'm Drew Bosley, joined alongside Scott Savage and Steve Radley. Guys, we had the week off last week. A couple things on the go. Couldn't quite get to the Gamecast as per usual, but normally we are live. People can join us over on YouTube as well as Twitch, and of course, ITGTV.com is the easiest way to track everything we do each and every day. So make sure you join us over there. Hit us up on our socials, like we said, YouTube and Twitch. And you can join in on our conversation as we got going on today. Boys, it's been a busy... Man, it feels like it's just always busy. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, a busy year?
Yeah, busy year. But as we say, every Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, you can join us. And today we're going to break down what we've been playing. What's in, what's out, and of course, topic of the show, which is, are games just a little too long? What's your gaming preference? That's kind of what I want to get into, right? How do you manage that time after hours, after the stuff we review? Are you still playing stuff? Are you doing other things? How do you get to the games we are reviewing? Things along that line. Kind of get a little inside baseball, maybe, perhaps. We'll see how much we deep dive into things. But Steve, you've been away for a little bit. I want to know, what have you been up to? What have you been playing? What games are you into right now?
Well, I didn't play too much last week because I was away for work.
Yeah.
But in between, I've been doing MLB, the show 24. So I've been getting my grips on the training on that. Never played this game before. Not really a big follower of baseball in the first place. So this is becoming a curveball for me.
Oh,
so,
well done.
Hey, I've also been playing Evil West on Xbox on Game Pass.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not bad. The cinematics, it's a vampire-y kind of, obviously set in the Western. A little bit linear. I'm finding the gameplay. Go point A, B, shoot off a load of bad creatures. Say the cutscenes are amazing. I've also delved into a little bit of Diablo 4 as well. So I've played about an hour of that. So I'm just dipping my toe in different games that I've not really played before when I've had the sort of time. So I've been enjoying all of that. And I've also been jumping back into Gears 5.
Nice.
Oh, Gears.
How far are you in Gears 5?
I think I'm chapter 3-ish. There's quite a bit to the story. So I was stuck on a boss fight for the longest time. And it was one of those things, I took off my console, got so fed up with it. After hours of keep dying and over again, when you get the cutscene, then you die, so put it back on. Died a few more times. Thought, you know what, I'm just going to take the setting down one. So the difficulty, did that. Died a few more times, but then I completed. Thought, yes, new cutscenes, new story progression. So that's as far as I got so far. But I'm really enjoying it again. There was a reason why I liked Gears 5 in the first place.
Yeah,
the story got me.
Yeah. I've told this story many times, but my wife and I played Gears together, and we beat it from start to finish. Right, it was one of the best gaming experiences I've ever had. So very, very cool. Scott, what have you been up to? Dude, you and I've been busy. A couple things we can't talk about yet, but we can get into those later. But what have you been up to besides the redacted? We'll call it.
Yeah, besides the redacted, which I've been having a great time with. That's all I can say. But beyond that, we've been falling back to the good old faithfuls, and I'm really struggling to think of much other than the Rainbow Six Siege always.
Yeah.
Day in, day out, and PUBG.
Sure.
PUBG, I'm starting to suspect there's more bots than people in that game now, but that could just be because of my ping, my internet, whatever internet magic is working. I'm getting a lot of kills and a lot of wins lately, so I can't complain about that.
Nice.
But beyond that, I'm trying to find something new to play. I haven't played anything with my brother in a while. He's stuck on Tin Can right now, and because I mentioned I have to point out he's 22nd in the world right now. Good for him.
What is Tin Can, for those who don't know what the game is about? What
Tin
is
Can, so Tin Can it's a survival game, but it's like the opposite of an escape room. You don't want to escape because you're in an escape pod in space. So you're just trying to keep this escape pod together, and that's a lot of micromanaging. So certain electrical storm will happen, and it'll knock out your power. All right, well, you got to put that back on. But in the meantime, it's shorted out a couple items. Now you might have to swap some pieces around to make it all work. It reminds me of that movie about, I think it's the Apollo Apollo 11 or something movie where
Apollo
they're trying
15.
to.
Oh yes, yeah, with Tom Hanks.
You have a square.
Yeah.
You have to get the
Yeah.
square to match the circle, and you have a couple parts. How are we going to do it? And it's like problem solving. So, to see
sounds
him
like
grab
Among
onto
Us.
that. Oh, if there were
The
multiple,
spaceship.
it's funny now actually that you mentioned that because he and I have been talking about it so much. We're thinking, where's the sequel? What would you add to it? And I have a lot of ideas, but multiplayer for that game could be really cool.
Yeah, nice. Myself, what have I been into? The usual, right? Like PUBG, Siege, that's just always there. Predecessor, I am, at this point, I'm just at another level with the love of this game.
That's the one I got to get into.
I've got a question on Predecessor. Is the server shut at the moment? Was it okay? Because I actually downloaded it, but I couldn't get into it last night.
Predecessor is free to play, so if you can't get into it, you need to talk to me, and we will get that sorted out.
Yeah, it's asking me for the disc.
What?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a disc.
There is no disc.
I know.
Right,
It's just saying, do you own this game or something? I believe. Pop-up
you might have
message.
to re-download it, Steve. That sounds a little odd to me.
I wonder if that's is it your Xbox Game Pass? Maybe not up to snuff. Maybe. I don't think
No, it's working. Game Pass has been okay.
Huh.
I'll double check it.
Yeah.
I'll double check it.
There's got to be something
I'll
going
start
on.
from scratch. I thought I'd join you lot and I'll start from scratch and learn it.
Learn the MOBA. Learn the way of the MOBA. Steve, it is such an interesting game to me. It is fascinating. It is a twist on a genre that I'd never thought I'd get into, right? Like normally the League of Legends is a top-down view, and then you're pointing with your mouse and you're clicking, and that's what leads your character. Now we're into this third-person situation. Dude, I cannot get enough of this game. I'm 100 hours in on PlayStation. I'm 70 hours on my PC. I'm like 10 hours or something like that on my Xbox now. Like wherever people want to play, I'm down. Let's go. And I'm rolling, right? My son and I play all the time, and it's just one of those games. Even when it's just me, I still go out, play solo, and if I could obviously squad up, that'd be a heck of a lot better. But at the same time, I'm still having a lot of fun. Frustrating moments like I had the other day. I've never had this in the entire time I played this game. There's a dual lane, so there's two of you. So I'm teamed up with Kira, and she's the carry. I'm support. I'm grinding my support right now. I'm almost prestige level for my support. So I'm getting closer, right? So as we go down our dual lane, we're supposed to be met head on with two of their duels. There's nobody there. There is nobody. They got ghosted. I don't know what happened to that team. We took the two towers on their one side, the dual lane side, uncontested. Nobody showed up. Nobody. I'm like, oh, this is just gonna get a surrender. So by the time we hit 10 minutes, surrender, right? Like I get it. If I was on the other team, I'm furious. I'm waiting for that 10 minutes to pop. Once 10 minutes pops, you can just give up, right? I understand that. Then I'm like, well, that wasn't really a game. I'm going back in for round 2 because I want to play a game. We get in. One of my players bail. I'm like, this is just not my night, right? Like it just became to. I'd rather just lose. And the problem with this game is that people can't lose. They don't know how to lose. And that's just irritating. You're not going to win every game. It's just straight up. Sometimes you're going to get stomped. And I've been stomped. No, without a doubt. And then sometimes it turns around and it's on the shoes on the other foot. And then we're the ones stomping. I'm like, yo, this is nuts. So, but for me, the complexity of it comes down to who's in my lane that is my role that is up against me. Who else is in that team comp? What do I need to build? What do I counter for that build that they're building? Right? What's my goal? Do I try to counter build them, or do I try to go in quick, heavy, and overpower them so that they can't get past me? Like, there's just a lot of things that kind of come into play. How do you flank? When's the right time to flank? Does your other team want to work with you? Do you get the objectives? There's just so many cool things when it comes to Predecessor. To the point where I watched the competitive league on the weekend. Like that was that's where I was at this weekend. I was like, yo, the Pred League's on. Let's go. So I'm watching like high level people just take this game to that other level that I will never be at, right? like that's kind of wow. And it is just so cool.
I want to learn it.
Well, another 400 hours you might get there.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to get there, Steve. You think you're going to jump on board, Scott?
I want to learn it, but I want to learn it enough to kind of theory craft another. I want to mess up the meta, is what I want to do. All right, so there's a predetermined meta. We know it works. Okay, but what if I just pick a different character in a different lane? And I bet you 9 out of 10 times it's going to fail awfully.
Yeah.
But I want to find that one that'll. Like, and maybe I'm just describing myself as a tester now, actually. I don't know. Maybe this is unwise.
I played the other night, and then Crunch was my support. And Crunch is the big guy who normally plays in the off lane or jungle. And next thing you know, he's my support. I'm like, dude, you have no support capabilities. Dude steamrolled the other team. I was like, all right, so this is going to work this game. Like, it shouldn't, technically, that should not work, right? Because support is there to help feed the carry, and let the carry just explode is the idea. And then Crunch is playing, who's no right to be my support, but he just dominated. I'm like, all right, this is apparently you just wanted to play Crunch. But it was just right, and they keep coming out with new characters. There's a new hero dropping on the 11th. Like, I keep talking about this game, and I will continue to talk about this game. So I apologize if you're tired of listening to me talk about it. But there's another Grim is coming back. So Grim was from Paragon way back in the day. So Grim's coming out, and then in another 3 weeks, I'm expecting Omega to come out with their own original hero, which has me excited to see what else are they going to get into. So I'm looking forward to seeing more on Grim this week. Hopefully we find out more details on that. But besides that, I jumped into Diablo 4 as well for about 30 seconds, and I was like, I don't feel like this. I
didn't even see you online. No.
I jumped in, and I was like, nah, I ain't feeling it. It's not what I wanted.
It's okay. I don't know if it's the text bubbles and the really talking to the characters. It's kind of, I don't know.
Yeah. It's not for everybody.
Yeah, and at the moment, I'm not powerful enough, so I've just got my normal weapon, and it's okay.
It takes a little while to
yeah. So
I know people
really like the
100 or whatever it is. Yeah,
I keep looking at Dragon's Dogma 2. I see it. I see people talking about it. I hear all their adventures. I'm like, man, I want this moment. Like, I want to play this, right? And it's one of those. And the other side of it too is I look at it like, this is also our job, so I almost feel compelled to stay up on the current, right? Like, we don't get codes all the time. It's just how it works here, right? We don't always get every code we ask for. So if we don't get it, then maybe I should just purchase it. And I've done that in the past, and I will continue to do that in the future when it happens. But Dragon's Dogma, the problem is, if I didn't have such a busy schedule right now, I would have bought it. Straight up. I just would have bought it.
Yeah.
But right now, you were away. Corey was away. That puts Scott and I on like 3 games. I'm like, I have no time for Dragon's Dogma 2 right now. But I keep hearing about the conversations and the things that keep happening in this world. And then the Dragon's Plague, that is just like killing your pawns. And I was just, man, I didn't know there was like an illness within there that could wipe out your pawns, and they're just gone. And then you have to go find another pawn. And then there's just so many things to the point where the PC side of it has actually created a mod that will warn you when your pawns have been infected. It's so cool, right? There's just so many things. I'm like, no fast travel, which apparently some people absolutely adore. They think it's incredible. Yeah. We can get into the whole monetization thing, but it's a one-time deal. If you would have bought the Ultimate Pack, you wouldn't have had to even worry about it. You wouldn't even noticed it. That's the thing, right? It's what. So instead of then getting the Ultimate, well, yeah, I get it's an interesting mechanic, and it doesn't sit well with everybody. But if you buy the Ultimate Edition, then you wouldn't have to worry about it. If you buy the regular edition, but you want the fast travel, then you can just go and buy the piecemeal stuff in there. Which, right? I get it, but it is what it is, and I think it's just them testing the waters. Capcom wants to see what can they get away with, and I think they honestly, at the end of the day, they got away with it, right? I think that's kind of what
oh man, didn't Shadow of War teach everybody that this is not enjoyed? Like, get your marketing out of my single player game.
But, well, where's the Nemesis system at?
Oh yeah, really? They're gonna sell can they sell that to somebody that's not Embracer?
Give it to Ubisoft and put it in my world of Assassin's Creed. I would love that.
Dude, that's what Assassin's Creed needs. That's what Crackdown. You bring Crackdown back, and you just slip in a Nemesis system there. Oh, that series could deserve a number 4.
Awesome.
Are you looking forward to Assassin's Creed Red?
Yes, absolutely, Steve.
Is it a different art style, or is it still third person?
It's still the traditional, from what I understand. Here's the thing: we know very little about Red, and which is not normal for a Ubisoft game.
Ubisoft? Yeah.
It's not normal for Ubisoft in general, right? So it's kind of one of those things. I'm like, I can't believe we know nothing about this.
How long has this been in production for? It's been out for a little. Well, production for a little while now.
Well,
So, do you think it could be Xbox Showcase material?
No, it'd be Ubisoft Forward Showcase, which will be at Summer Game Fest, right?
Yeah.
So I believe Ubisoft Forward's on the 10th. Microsoft Xbox Showcase, I think, is on the 9th. Summer Game Fest is on the 9th. Right. So it depends on how everything lines up. Boom, 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 boom.
Is there something on
boys,
the 7th?
It'll be a busy week. It'll be like Christmas. I can't wait.
The 7th is sticking out to me too. I don't know if that's
maybe that's what it's
related to.
Summer Game Fest, I think, starts on the 7th, and then we get in the showcase. Either way, there's a ton of showcases lining up. We're gonna be busy. But when it comes back to Assassin's Creed Red, I can't wait because we've been dying for this area to be covered, right? We want that feudal Japan era to be in Assassin's Creed. It should have been there a long time ago. Hasn't been. All right, now we're finally gonna get it. All right, cool. How well does it hit? We know it's 2 protagonists, right? I kind of feel like it's almost like GTA in a sense. You know, we're splitting out, branching off. So I'm definitely curious to see how this
Assassin's Creed did it first.
What do you think they could add to this one? What do you think they could add to this one to make it different from all the others, though? Because there's quite a few already out, and they've already gone for the different Vikings and that kind of thing. Yeah. So they're still going to have the hidden blade because that's still going to be the assassin's main weapon. But is it going to be any different, though? Or is it going to be, it's just the same?
I'm a little worried they're going to go too fantastical, too much into the mythology route. I know Assassin's Creed has to, and that will fit into the story if anybody's tracking the story anymore. But
dude, I'm
a little worried they'll lean a little too into it, and it's like, okay, I know we wanted to go to Japan in the series for 15, 20 years now, but we don't have to make it too Japanese. I don't know how to communicate that properly.
Well, so I think it might come in the way of like DLC, right? I think that's kind of where it goes afterwards. I think you get the base game like you did with Valhalla, and then when you're done Valhalla, you get Ragnarok DLC, which then goes into the mythical side of it all and this, that, and the other, right? So there's a whole connection in there that kind of takes it to that next level. And I'm wondering if that's what they do here with Red. There is opportunities to bring that in. Steve, getting back to your question, though, what can they do different? I don't know if they necessarily need to do different, but more of, right? So fans wanted Mirage. We wanted to go back to the stealth era, right? We want to go back to what we felt like when we were in Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and kind of get into that realm. Because then once Origins came around, and then you get Odyssey, and then you got Valhalla, right? It's so open world, and that it lost the sense of that stealthness to the core aspect of the game, right? Now, granted, from what we've heard in the rumbles, right, is that Red is got a heavy emphasis on stealth. Dude, like, we're samurais, we're ninjas. I want to get into. I want to be the ninja. I want to be that.
See, that's the thing is the samurai is not stealthy.
No, that's why you got Rise of the Ronin.
Ninja, that's right.
Yeah, but that's still. Which one were you? Because it wasn't much stealthy in that either.
No.
And I wish you could use the stars a bit more as well. A little bit more of those kind of weapons.
I want to see a heavy focus on smoke bombs again that we haven't had in the past, right? Throwing stars. I think we'll get the ninja stars aspect of it all.
Caltrops?
Yes, absolutely. Remember throwing the coins, right? And then luring people over. Like, there's so many opportunities, I think, that we lost a little bit. It's funny because the minute I wrapped up Mirage, I was like, man, I could go for more of this. Like, I really could have went for a bit more. And I put in, I think, like 30 hours. I 100% of that game.
You gotta download Rogue.
40 hours. No, I'm about halfway. I believe I'm like halfway through Rogue. That's the only one I haven't completed. I've played them all. That's the only one I haven't finished. And I just don't think I will ever be able to finish it just due to lack of time. But when we get into Red, like, I am pumped. Like, I literally cannot wait to see what they do with Red. Bring us into the studio like they did with Mirage, and let me talk to the developers and let us get our hands on what's this game like, right? So I'm very excited to see what Ubisoft pulls off. But what's first, though, is Star Wars Outlaws, which is going to get a bit of a story reveal trailer. I think it's tomorrow, right, Scott?
I think that is tomorrow, yeah, about noon o'clock. Noon o'clock, I almost said.
Noon o'clock.
That works.
So
noon. I think that's correct.
So there's 2 big titles, right, coming out from Ubisoft this year. We get Star Wars Outlaws, and then we get Red in the fall. So obviously, if they're showing us the story, that means we're getting Outlaws first. No official release date, but kind of gears us up and at least kind of tips their hat a little bit as to which one we get first. Because Red is nowhere to be found, like nothing. So I think Ubisoft Forward will have.
Do you think there's going to be the leveling system in Red? That's the only thing I'm afraid of. If there's the emphasis on stealth, I'm hoping that will allow me to negate that entirely. Then I just don't want it.
Well,
That's awful.
I'm curious to see, because from
Just
what
give me
I've
a Rise Son of Rome too.
No, we're not getting that. I think we're going to get into something a little bit further when we're going back to the world of, not Mirage, but back into kind of a bit of a play on Odyssey a little bit. Steve, it looks like your screen's frozen. Am I alone on that, Scott?
Oh, no, it does appear. I'm very stuttery as well.
You are. You guys are having some technical difficulties, but I'll keep it going because I can talk for hours. But it's very exciting for me, at least, to see what Red looks like, because I've been waiting for this for so long. I'm hoping we get that stealth ninja spin-off of Samurai, whatever. I know we're samurais, but I'm very curious to see how far they push it. Because even when the female character jumps onto the rooftop, it's like smoke, right? So it kind of leads into that.
Yeah, that did look really cool.
Yeah.
No, if the number system's there, but it's there just to explain that I can't straight sword fight somebody because they're too strong, that's fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to be careful with how I pre-declare my preferences on this one, because I want it to be that stealth. But if I'm playing that stealth and I sneak up and nobody saw me, oh no.
Yeah. I was waiting for it, dude. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, he's definitely DC'd.
He certainly has, which means we're going to be into this. I'm just going to try and fix this up here to make it work, because we've lost Steve somehow, some way. He might join us back, which then is going to throw this all off once again. But we're back on that way, so now there's just the two of us. Dude, it feels like the Daily Show. Welcome back, everybody. So, technical difficulties on
Daily
Steve's
Show.
end, but...
Without my stomach rumbling half the time.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice feeling, isn't it? Yo, so after
I'm getting
we've been,
hungry, however.
Did you eat dinner at all yet?
No, not yet. You know me.
Man. Here we are, almost 8 o'clock at night. Scott still has not eaten dinner. Oh man, well, that's the way it goes.
Yeah, we'll be filming tomorrow, and I'll be in a weird stomach ache, and it'll make noise, and I'll wonder why. How did this happen?
I know why.
Oh, look, it's the consequences of my actions.
Boy, oh boy. Dude. Let's get into our in or out. Scott, what are you into? What are you out of for this week? Oh, look who's back. All right, so we're going to flip back over. He's just an embodied chair.
There's a little eagle symbol
There he
on his
goes.
chair.
There you are. What's
Yeah,
up,
you're
buddy?
back.
Okay, so we've just transitioned over, Steve, to in or out, and we're just kicking it off with Scott first. Scott, what do you got?
Well, I'm in for once in a while.
I like that.
I have
I like
a
it.
positive, and the positive is that I'm in on the return of classic subgenres now. Okay, or classic elements to video games. This begins with not looter shooters, boomer shooters.
Okay.
The big rush of boomer shooters has been going on now for probably about a year, and I've been happy about it the whole time. Ever since we got our hands on Proteus.
Right.
And they just continue, and I love that because it's one of my favorite genres. That's really it. And then more recently, and I'm not going to speak about it too in detail, let's just say that stealth has come back in a big way. Some of that is Assassin's Creed, some of that is other games, some of them are smaller, larger, and I love that. I love that the actual classic stealth where I'm not just and it's not your favorite Splinter Cell, just shooting everybody in the head, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm done. Now time to stealth through an empty room. I don't like that. I like the
Dude, I like
classic
Conviction. I like Conviction a lot. You didn't like Conviction?
The game was good, but it's just not my favorite kind of stealth. It's like
I didn't like
it's
Double
not
Agent.
pure.
I didn't like Double Agent. That was not my favorite. Yo, we should get into a rating. We'll have to rate these games. I think we need to go back.
I can't really. Yeah, we could do tier list actually. I can't really recall
Absolutely.
Double Agent very much, other than the one scene that is spoilers. I don't want to get into it, but it was just like, are they really doing that? Are they really gonna do? And then they did that. And I went, oh, okay.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Steve, you're back. Welcome back, buddy.
Yes.
What are you in or out on right now? Anything?
Well, do you know what? After watching your breakout of Gear 6, whether it's going to be on the Xbox showcase and that may be a reveal this year, and I think, now I've been getting into more Gears 5, I think it'll be kind of lining me up nicely, especially when they sort of talked about like better graphical performance and things like that. Yeah. And I remember you were talking about, do you think it'd be on the next gen? But I'm sure they still will have to make it backwards compatibility with the Xbox Series X, and then probably just phase out the Xbox One, and then do it that way.
Part of me wonders if we're ever going to get past the Xbox One. I feel like it's
Yeah, that's fair too.
yeah, I feel like it's kind of it's the slowest member of the team, but we're carrying them along with us anyways. And
Well, I wonder if
just
that's sort of like some of the games you play on the Series X, when you think it's not running at its full potential.
yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like it's
Do you know
it's
what I mean?
just,
It's still limited
do we
for
need a
Xbox
new
One.
console?
But it's funny because Scott and I were talking about earlier today actually about fidelity or over performance mode, and this is kind of what we're getting into now with the Series X, Series XS, and the Xbox One, right? Like it's starting to come into that big long stretch. It's just making it too challenging. That it's just not really working. So at some point or another, you're gonna have to say goodbye. You're gonna have to let it go, right? So at what point can you do that? What point does that happen? But it's got to happen sooner than later, especially when Gear 6, because Gear 6 is not going to run on Xbox One. It's just not going to happen.
I hope it won't, because I want it to be that next level above. I want it to be too good.
I think if they tried it, it'll kind of be like what Cyberpunk 2077 was like when it came out.
Oh,
Right.
When it was more worked on a high-end PC, and then transfer it to console. It's like, oh yeah, we'd have to tweak this and that to make it run at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that would be a bit of an issue. I think it's time to say goodbye to the Xbox One, and unfortunately, people just have to move on and get ready for what's next. And the Xbox is already talking about their next console, right? Which has us excited to see what is this going to be like. But apparently it's not coming until 2028. So like
that's what makes me wonder. Do you think Gears 6 is meant to be a launch for it?
Oh,
how far away do you think Gears 6 is? I can't recall what I've read now. I don't think there's anything to indicate it's coming very soon.
Right.
Especially since we've seen almost nothing about it.
Well, yeah, that's the other side of it too, right? We really haven't seen anything at all. We're supposed to see it at the showcase is the idea, right? We're going to see that at the showcase. Yeah. What else do we see today, Scott, that we're going to see at the showcase that was coming out of Xbox? I'm thinking we're going to see more Fable, more Perfect Dark, right? Like you have to see that there. So...
What about the Indiana Jones game?
That's what it was.
What was that, Scott? Sorry?
State of Decay 3.
That's right. The one. Thank you, yes. State of Decay 3. Indiana Jones, absolutely, Steve. I think we'll see that because we don't have a release date. I think they want to line that up for the fall. So I think that's what we'll see. But yeah, you being into Gears is pretty cool. It has me pretty excited as well. Definitely curious to see what they take on with Gears 6 and where that goes. Boys, I'm going to be the downer. No, I'm not jumping back in. Dude,
I didn't see it all the way through.
Oh man, I'm
gonna need to jump in.
You know what? I might need a refresh on whenever 6 comes up. Right? Maybe it's like one of those things. We just kind of go in and get. Oh yeah, right. This is because we play. Like honestly, at this point, my memory, I'm in the moment and then gone. I'm into the next. Right? And like, okay, what happened back then? Yeah. Got it. Oh right.
It took me a while to get used to the control buttons and functions again. Of like, how do I do this again? It's like, oh, okay. But yeah, it's still fun. Sorry.
For my in or out, I'm going to be a bit of a downer. Boys, I'm out. Skull and Bones is now finished to me. That is done. I jumped back in the other day, and it immediately locked my Xbox up. I'm like, I'm out. Like, I can't believe you guys are still doing this. After all this time, Ubisoft, after the development cycle, everything. I'm like, I can't. I just can't.
The technical issues. It's because they had to design that game for like 8 different consoles.
Oh my goodness. It's just, I can't believe it just locks my whole Xbox. Everything just locks up. I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm done. I'm out. So
I've heard others echo the same thing. We don't need to name people we know. Some friends we have that have they're out as well. So I think, unfortunately, Corey, I think was correct when. Are we going to be talking about this game in another 6 months, 8 months later down the road? I don't think so. No, I think he was correct at the time. But
like your brother though, because your brother's still you used to sail together, so to speak.
Yeah, no, we did, right?
I haven't seen him online in a while, actually.
No, he's over in the world of GTA right now, back again. It's just, he's got a crew over there that he rolls with. To. Well, yeah, absolutely, man. I'm just honestly, just give me GTA 6. Like, don't make me wait any longer. I'm over waiting. But yeah, my brother's not playing it either, Steve. Like, he's done too.
Right.
So I've got a buddy of mine who's like, hey, I've got the game having started. I'm like, well, you get in and I'll roll with you. But besides that, I'm not touching it. Like, I'm out at this point, right? So unless he hits me up and says, Drew, I'm jumping in, I'm like, okay, then I'll go. I told him I would. I'll be there.
Just say, let me know when you hit level 80, and then
Yeah.
and
But
100 hours. And
to be fair, though, I'm 70 hours into this game. So it's not like I haven't sunk my time. I've sunk my time, my ship, and everything else. And the game has just sunk itself in my eyes. So I'm ready to bounce. I had a good time when it was happening. But now to get back in and see all the late game irritations and the fact that it completely locks my console.
No,
I just can't.
I think that relates. I think that relates to the topic here today as well, because that game was very long. It went on long, but it wants to demand even more, and that's just too much. In your case, it appears to me that it's too much.
So let's get into topic of the show, gents. How long is too long for a game? How much time do you devote to one game before you bounce on to the next? How do you change up your gaming habits? Do you change up your gaming habits? What works? What doesn't work? Let's start with, how long is too long? Steve, you got any ideas? What's your comfort zone?
well, do you know what? It actually sort of goes back to what we just talked about, like Assassin's Creed. You said Mirage, you wanted more. What was that? I don't know how long that one was compared to the Odyssey and things like that. Yeah,
very
so it's still
short
kind of for long.
Comparable.
Yeah, but it's still like 30 hours regardless. It's still a long game.
Still 30 hours, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's not exactly short.
We've reviewed games where we've actually completed it, and it was kind of like, do you know what? 12 hours was just enough. It kind of wrapped up the whole story. Any more of it would become a bit more repetitive or the same old kind of thing. And it all depends on the genre of game, I think. I mean, I loved Horizon Forbidden West. I've probably put about 80 hours and I've still not completed it. But that open world was always something new and exciting. But then I've played Avatar, which is open world, and it was like the characters didn't get me.
Overstayed
like
as well.
Horizon Forbidden West. Yeah.
Sure.
So it's always a tricky one. I don't know what is a good time frame for a game, to be honest with you. It all depends. I've played like first-person shooters, like Bulletstorm, and after about 12 hours, that's all you're doing, A to B, just blasting everything, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
I haven't played Bulletstorm.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's one that I skipped over. There's a few that were back in that era that I just haven't touched.
I thought for sure you would have played that one. Yeah.
Like Section 8. You remember Section 8?
Yeah, I do.
I didn't actually play that one. I saw all of the friends from Newmarket play, and I didn't.
I am 56 hours into Mirage by the time I wrapped that one up. So that's kind of where I was at with that one. I was surprised I didn't feel like it was that long. But Scott, do you have a sweet spot for game length these days?
I do. It does depend on genre a little bit, but for just a general statement, I would say the 10 to 15 is what I prefer. That might just be because that's kind of the climate I was raised in, growing up in the early 2000s and whatever. Those games were never terribly long because there was only so much memory you could put on a disc.
Or cartridge.
Or a GameCube
old school
mini
you
disc.
Yeah.
Well, I had those silly GameCube mini discs, so it was weird. But actually, funny I think about that. I'm pretty sure Chaos Theory is 3 discs on GameCube.
Right? Oh, wow. Yeah.
But anyways, what I'm thinking is generally I like that 10 to 15 hour range because we play games day in, day out. There's certain games I have to play, certain games I want to play. And the ones that I want to play, I want to be able to get through them in a sensical amount of time before the next game comes in that we've got to cover and it's lost to time. An example of that right now is Alan Wake 2. I think Alan Wake 2 fits into that butter zone, maybe a little longer.
Right.
But I don't think it overstays its welcome. But because it's just that awkward length a little over, I haven't started it yet because I know I want to do that in like 3 or 4 sittings. So
can I just also mention as well, like, sorry to interrupt, but like, talk about, I was thinking about like RPGs, the ones where there's so much crafted, leveling up, upgrade your character, upgrade, even like city building kind of things. Those ones, you have to put the hours in. You have to keep an eye on certain games. I've let a whole village starve to death because I didn't give them enough food and water, and they were like dead the next day. So, like you said, it's got the micromanagement, but they're the games that just seem to go on forever, and you just every now and then you just go on there, upgrade your village or do something. So I was just going to sort of mention that, like RPG games, like what's involved in leveling up and playing the game that are more involved. Sorry.
For RPG, I would say it's probably 20 to 30 is probably the butter zone. And it's going to vary depending on different games. If you're all about Final Fantasy, you might want that to continue on another dozen hours. But I was trying to think of games that I've played in the last 5, even 10 years. There's nothing that I've stayed in that I wish was longer. Even some of my game of the years, Ghost Runner 1 and 2. If they had gone on any longer, it would have got a little too cheesy. They would have had to. It would have been sequelitis within the same title. It's just would have overstayed its welcome. Talos Principle is a great example of how to do it properly, all the way up until the very last moment, 12 hours in. It's dropping new mechanics into you. But it ran out of mechanics. If that had continued on more hours, it would have got boring, would have lowered the average.
I was going to sort of mention, do you think, we're fortunate that we get review codes, but if we were going out buying it and you're spending $90 or whatever for whatever sort of package you get of that game, if I was spending $90 or $120 for deluxe edition, I want something that's going to keep me entertained, and I'm going to be playing that one game for as long as possible, get my money's worth. I don't want it finishing in 10 hours if it was mediocre, if you know what I mean.
Well, it's funny where you get into, though, right? Because if you take a look at Helldivers 2, it's $40. It was $40. Yeah. People are still playing that game. Still, Corey from the show, still grinding that game, right? And it's $40.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's what we're seeing is a lot of these games that run 100 hours plus. They could very easily be half that. And to me, it would up the average. Your quality per hours would go up.
Yeah.
Like Assassin's Creed. Does Assassin's Creed need to be? And that's just unfortunately going to be picked on. That's the one worldwide is picked on for being way too long. But it's just you could trim that down a lot, trim the fat down a lot, and I don't think you would lose any quality.
Well, look at Mirage, right? Mirage, I wrapped up, and I think about 30 to 40 hours, and I went back to 100% it. So that's why I'm 56 hours in.
And you never do that.
No, I don't. I don't, right? That's the other side of it, too. I'm not an achievement hunter. I'm not a trophy hunter. I don't have time for that stuff, usually. So it's just kind of one of those, for me, I used to have a sweet spot. It was around 10 to 12 hours. I like to get in. I like to feel like I've accomplished something. I think that's the biggest part, right? But when you get into Valhalla, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Scott, you were just mentioning, right? Dude, I'm 150 hours. 150 hours. But yet, when I take a look at Predecessor, like I always talk about, I'm almost 200 hours in on that game, right? So
Hogwarts was another one.
Yes, it was, Steve. Yeah, and that's where you kind of get into, now it's a game of service model, too, that's coming out. What feels like the last couple of years is how do they pull your attention away from other titles to keep you invested into one title, right? So like Helldivers 2, right? The context around Helldivers 2 is absolutely incredible. How they've been able to party. It is, right? It is such a, it almost feels like when Fortnite dropped. When Fortnite dropped their battle royale scene. I feel like Helldivers has a bit of that magic right now. The way they're able to cater to their audience to pull them back in. Corey's like, yeah, we did this, and now we're on to that now. It's like every day I feel like there's just a little bit more conversation, but Helldivers 2 sticking around. So
it's a cultural touchstone too. Like my parents making jokes about it.
I've not read too much about Power World.
Power World feels like it's gone. Steve,
I know,
right?
That's what we're talking about when it was the new Pokemon with guns, and and then Helldivers 2 come out, and then that kind of took the reins, and it's still got the reins.
It's still going. I think Power World is still there. I saw they have new DLC dropping, so there is still context coming for that game. But the stronger conversation still goes around Helldivers 2 and how that keeps their community invested. Right? It's pulling in the D&D guy, right, Scott? I think that's what they did.
Joel, the dungeon master.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was. Yeah. So they pulled him in to kind of mess with their player base.
That's got to be so much fun.
It's but it's working, right? Like that's the other side. It's working, and when you get into the length of Hogwarts Legacy, for example, there's a lot. There's so much to do in that game. But
that's a good example of what
being in that world.
That could be
extended. And it's the flow. If the flow of a game is constant, then it keeps it engaging. Like I said, how many games we've played that go and talk to this person, and I find after the first few hours I'm getting bored and I'm skipping the dialogue because I'm not interested anymore because the character's not interesting. And I think that, again, that is a big factor on the length of game sometimes, is the amount of dialogue in some of these games.
No, for sure, right? Go ahead, Scott. What were you having to say?
Oh, I was just thinking that it's all genre dependent for me. Everybody knows MMOs are supposed to last forever.
Sure.
And that's the game that I played the most of, I think. Well, you know what? We're probably past that in Siege now. But Elite Dangerous, I played a ton of. That was my MMO. So I could get in there, I could spend all day playing. But it's because it's a sandbox, it's multiplayer, it's massively online. There really is no story that's going to come to an end unless the game's master, like Joel in that game, ends the universe or something crazy. But it can work in some instances, but I think it's very case by case. Assassin's Creed is playing with that, and I think they've played with it too much. Now people are getting annoyed, and that's why they're having to be broadcasting that they're shortening their games.
Well, so it's funny because they shortened it, but yet Red is about to blow it back open, and then I wonder after Red if they shrink it back down with Hexy, right? I think that's
that'll be interesting.
Do you know anything about that one?
No, just more that's a lot darker than any other game. So which kind of makes me a little bit nervous as a big Assassin's Creed fan.
Yeah,
how dark you turn my Assassin's Creed world on me, right? Because I'm not a horror fan. So if you go into that world, which it sounds like it's kind of going, I might actually, for the first time ever, have to skip it. What?
Do you think they might bring another Assassin's Creed VR game?
No, I don't. I really don't.
I think
it's a shame, really, because that was good. I thought it was a really cool attempt on the quest.
Yeah. No, it was cool.
I'm thinking that if they go darker, the darkest Assassin's Creed ever, I'm worried that it's going to be a Dark Prince. Prince of Persia, Dark Prince.
No.
They'll introduce something silly like that. You'll have to shadow duel yourself. I'm worried. This is just baseless worry at this point. But
Hexy has something to do with like witchcraft and things along that line. So we'll see where they take that one exactly. But at the other side of it too, like Steve, I want to talk to you then about. Let's talk about the length of The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
Could you shorten that story down? I would say some would argue yes.
No.
I think some people would argue. I think some people would actually argue that and say, yeah, you could shrink certain aspects of that game, but then at the other side, right? Did it feel
just
like
take the golf trip out?
There's no golf trip. Go well.
No, I think what it did was I thought the length was good. I think even if they left the extra cutscenes in or part of the thing, I don't think it would have made a lot of difference. For what we saw, it wasn't adding much more to the game. I know he said it was like the flow, the continuity of the story and the game mechanics. But I thought overall, that was just enough. I thought like the first one was quite an emotional roller coaster with everything going on and a new experience. Right. And even like me, it's like 3 hours like, oh, I have to have a break from this and just digest everything that Ellie's gone through or Joel and the whole story.
Yeah.
But I thought the time was just enough. I thought when it finished, I felt like if I read a good book and I was like, that's done. That's, kind of, it tied up any loose ends really, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
To some degree.
I'm very curious to see where they take 3. Our good friend Kyle now has finished the first one as well as Left Behind and is now about to start 2. So I'm anxious to talk to him about 2 and see kind of where that leads from there. But it is part of me is one like I like the length of the first one more than the length of the second one because again, right, it allows me to get in there, get something complete, and then move on. I think it just comes in the nature of me being in the industry and wanting to move on to what's next. So when I take a look at Dragon's Dogma 2. Yeah. I'm not completing that anytime soon, right? Like it's gonna be, it's good. Oh man, so that's gonna be one.
Like to pick up Baldur's Gate 3 or something. I guess it's one of those.
Yeah,
just as big.
Exactly.
Almost,
yeah. So actually, you know what I'm doing right now, which I should have mentioned when we were talking about what we were playing. I'm playing Banishers for review, and I'm working on that, but I'm chipping away at it because we're on so many other things with embargoes. We got this one a little bit later, and I'm diving into that world. And like, this is, I think, going to hit that sweet spot of where I like to be. And it's a very interesting world. I think it's a very cool storyline. A lot of I don't want to say monotone because monotone means like really boring, but soft spoken I think is the better approach to how they present Banishers. And it's a very interesting story of this love story and how this kind of unfolds. But for me, like if this could wrap up in a timely manner, I would feel perfect about this game.
Oh, see, that's what I think of. Do you think we're losing some of these stories? Because if you have a great story to tell and it comes in and it does all of what it needs to do and then it ends in a satisfying manner, everybody loves that.
Yeah.
But I feel like what we've had is some of that's gone by the wayside to extend a game longer and longer because for whatever reason that's deemed to be more marketable. And I think what we do is we lose some of that storytelling ability. What's the last game that was really impactful? Unfortunately, I know the answer to this one for you. It is a long game, but one that was the most impactful game for me ever was Brothers: A Tale of Two Sons. I think you can comfortably do that in one sitting without getting to the bathroom.
Yeah.
It gets in, it tells its story, it hits you if it's going to, and then it gets out.
Do you know what? My still favorite one is Detroit Becomes Human.
That's a cool game.
That story, as the narrator, that was one of my very first sort of games on PS4, and it's one that you recommended as well, Drew, because that was when we were working, we were talking a bit about it, and it was like, and I played it, and I just thought, wow, that was another good story, amazing twist, good graphics, and it was just done really, really well.
Yeah, that game is super old, so I'm about to spoil my ending because there's multiple endings, and you may not even get.
I think I've heard one of your teaser stories, and I love it.
So it was funny because
brutal.
You talk about this game, right? Detroit Become Human, and the way Quantic Dream does their form of storytelling, right? In which I think Steve honestly wrapped up, and one, I was crushed, I was devastated because of how it ended, but I think it ended at a right length, right? And that's one of those things you can get in. Couple sittings, you can complete it in a week and then move on. We talk about Call of Duty as a prime example too. You go in, you play that campaign, you're done in 6 hours. That feels short. People complain how short that game is, right? But for Detroit Become Human, for me, my ending, so like tune out for the next minute. But what happened was you carry this girl all the way through, and I was almost done. I was there. I was finished. We were escaping through the airport.
Go to Canada.
Yep, right. I was on my way, dude. And
hey, is it Canada?
Yeah. And
to Canada.
I didn't make it through, and they blasted her in the face with a shotgun, and I was just crushed. That was my ending. I was like, I carried this little girl, this entire time through here, and then you blew her away with a shotgun, and I was. Man, that's
because it's all about that decision making. It's all when you're queuing up. It's like,
good.
there's a ticket on the floor. Do you take it or do you give it back to the owner? And then you get in there, and it's like, do you make a run for it? Do you let her go by herself, or do you just walk away? And is that? I think my outcome is very similar to yours, Drew.
Yeah.
And I was reminding me of Road 96, I believe it was. Not Route 96.
Yep. Road 96. I know what you're talking about.
That game had a very similar impact with me. Hearing you recount that story, it was very similar. We're making a border run. We're in the back of this truck. Everything's going to be fine. We just got to stay quiet. But sometimes it does not work out properly. Or somebody's talking to you, somebody's talking in one ear, and I made the wrong decision. Just sold somebody right down the river, and I felt awful for it. But that game wrapped up, and I think that was 15 to 18 hours, a little bit beyond my normal.
Right.
But it wrapped
I was
up.
going to say James Perry's one was really good. The Dusk.
Dusk Falls.
Dusk Falls. That narrative story was awesome. And again, decision making, but the time was just right, the lengthwise. I thought that was really good.
If it goes too long, I think Scott makes a valid point, right? That they're just extending it, adding in fluff that you don't necessarily need. Cut that out. Make it more impactful, and then that's when you get the better game. But then you take a look. The Witcher 3, massive game. People love that game. Like it is incredible. And then you get into the DLC. The DLC is a damn game in itself, right? Like that's the length of some games, if not longer. It's an interesting approach when it comes to development and how the developers take to their games and design them in a manner of, okay, this is the way you're going to do it. And you can get from point A to point B, and you'll be done in a couple hours, and you can have a good time, then bail out. Or we're just going to give you everything, open it up, and go, and see how long it takes you, right? So
That's
it's
a perfect example, actually. I just thought of Zelda.
yep.
Zelda all of a sudden turned a corner. Breath of the Wild, you make the story now, and as much as everybody loves it, the world around, it's not my favorite kind of Zelda. I like the point A to B.
Yeah.
Give me an open world. That's fine. That's not what I'm complaining about.
No, yeah. It's again GTA 5, right? But when you talk about GTA 5 now, what are you really talking about? You're talking about the online
That game's
component,
lasted 10 years.
right? But it's all because of the online. If it wasn't for the online, I think we'd be going, that was a cool story, had a great time. Now I'm on to something else, right? Because I wrapped up that story. I've never gone back, but I loved that story. I thought the story was awesome between Trevor and Michael,
so many times now.
right, and Franklin. Between the three of them, it's just what a cool time for that game to release, and then open up to online, which then just carried that game into another genre, I think, and really pushed it. And that's when you kind of get into this games as a service model, right? How much time do you dedicate to a game?
Do you think Red Dead Redemption 2 was too long?
Oh man, you want to talk about a long game? Whew.
Well, because I know it's worth sitting it out. All right, I know it is, and I know the spoilers. It's we don't have to say that, but it's just I couldn't get into it. I bounced out. I want to say between 20 and 30 hours. That might have been a little bit longer, but in any case, I wasn't nearly done it.
Is it kind of like GTA though? Is it kind of like that, the Red Dead? You do your story, but you get your posse and you just go out and you just do different side quests basically, or different missions and challenges.
There is a storyline, right? So there's the main campaign, which for me started off so slow that I hated the game. Hated it.
I remember you saying, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of what happened to me.
I put it
Actually,
down.
was it about 5-6 years ago? I think you were playing this when we first started.
Yeah, more like yeah. So we reviewed it on the show, and I'm like, I don't like this. I don't like it at all. It's so slow. The mountain scene, going through the snow, and all.
The snow was way too long.
It was painful. It really dragged it out. But once you got past that point, it is one of my favorite games of all time. Red Dead 2 has got to be one of my favorite games of all time. And then to get into the online component too, which if they would have kept with it, Rockstar, I'd still be playing that game, right? I jump back in. It will never leave my console. It is one of the prettiest games I've ever played, and I absolutely adore that world. And to jump back in, and I was just like, just give me something to do that I haven't already done.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I just want something fresh. But it is let me ask you guys this. Because we play so many games here for the show, right? We have a lot of reviews on the go all the time. But then there's outside of that, we still game, right? Like that's what I do, right? I think a lot of us over here. There's only 4 of us.
Yeah.
So, but like at the end of the day, if we're not on a review game, what are you playing? Are you playing something that's going to take you hours upon hours, or are you in Scott? I kind of know where you're at, or
I do 2 things.
Yeah, or would you rather just kind of go off and hit something small? Would you like to hit an indie title, or would you want the big sprawling RPG that's going to take hours? That when a review comes up, you're focused. But oh man, I've got half an hour. I'm going to go chip away at that game a bit. Steve, where are you at?
I'm one of these ones to download a game that I've tried previously and then try and complete it. I found the more and more I've been doing this, the more and more I'm getting more nimble on my controlling and movement of certain things, the more games I'm playing in different genres and variety. So now I've got a bit more expertise on button controls, as I could say, or thumbstick controls. It's like now I'm going back to these games and think, oh, that seems a bit easier. Why did I struggle? Because my response time is a little bit quicker. It could be like a Souls-like game that I kept getting annihilated every time. Think, hold on, let's do a couple of rolls here, a couple of attacks, roll away, look for patterns and things like that. So, like I said, it's like me going back to Hellblade. Like going back to that game that I played probably about 2 years ago, couldn't finish it, jump back on, and I've done it in about 3 hours what I'd left, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm someone that likes to just go back to a game that I've played previously and try and complete it. Like even some games like we've done for review, like Suicide Squad or something like that.
Sure.
I know I'm close to the end now, so it'd be nice just to finish the storyline.
You're cleaning up, right? You're on cleanup duty.
Yeah.
It's kind of what you're doing, which I can appreciate. Scott, what about you?
I like to do that replay some of the comfort games if a new one's coming out. One on my mind right now is Industria, so I'm going to be playing Industria, and I'm going to run through that really quickly because number 2 is on the way, and I'm excited. So, but normally I do 2 things. Either I will just clear an evening and I'll crush 1 or 2 games. I'll look at Game Pass and I'll pull some of the smaller things and just try and crush them out for achievements, or I'll have a standby game. Right now, it's Hot Wheels 2.
Sure.
So if I have a half hour, if I have an hour, maybe an hour and a half, I might just spend that just playing a couple races because time will go by well enough, and it's not a big enough commitment where if I get up and I have to stop now, I'm not missing anything. It's fine.
Yeah, which is fair, right? I'm kind of all over the place at the end of the day. Like, I don't have what am I doing? I'm looking honestly to. Sometimes it depends on what my mood is. I think it really comes at the end of the day, right? Like, what am I craving to do? I got in heavily to crafting.
Predecessor.
Yeah, dude, Predecessor is just sucking my life away at this moment, right? It is definitely one of those. It's the competitive side, and man, I can get frustrated. I get mad. I can get heated. We'll call it. We'll call it that.
That's what the best games do to you, though. Sometimes,
right? But there's just okay. If I'm not honestly, really, at the end of the day, if I'm not on a review game, it is Siege, it is PUBG, and it is Predecessor, and those are my go-to right now. And then it's my go-to for a very long time. Outside of that, sometimes I get the urge, though, to get into a good old crafting game. What can I go in and build up, craft? And Shrouded hit me in such a sweet spot. I was absolutely hooked. I keep talking about it because I think the game is incredible. I'm waiting for it now to come over to console so I can really dive back in, right? Because it's on my PC. PC's downstairs. I like the game up on my couch because I've been on my PC all day. I'd rather sit and put my feet up, grab a drink, and then and game, right? But other times too, it's just like I just want to hang out. So what can I do to play, hang out with my friends, hang out with my wife, right? And that's typically involves a shooter of some sort. So that's kind of where that falls. But when I take a look at like what else can I play to hammer out, I don't think really at the end of the day is just I just don't. I play a lot of stuff because I want to be up on what's happening. Because I feel, that's just it's who I am. Really, at the end of the day, I like to talk about what's the hottest thing right now, and I want to be educated on that. And right now, Dragon's Dogma 2 is part of that conversation. I just haven't been able to get to because we've had.
Why don't you just go buy it? You've mentioned it probably about 4 times so far. So
I'm going to. I'm going to.
What
I just. That's what I said. I've just been so busy with these past reviews, but. When
it'll be like Alan Wake 2. You look at it on the shelf one day.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I feel like we're coming to a tail end this week, but I know next week is gonna kick back in. And it's like, I just need.
And I have to sort of say as well, like the games like doing the spare time. Sometimes I like to go back on like the open world ones because I find I like to go do the side quest so I can upgrade my weapons and things like that. And I find if you've got an hour or so, that's a good time to sort of go out, do a side quest, complete it, go back to your hub, and then think, right, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then next day, so at least it saves it. Do you know what I mean? So you're still picking at the game, but like I said, just sort of, for me, I like to upgrade my weapons and level up.
Balatro, I keep talking about it because it's got such a sweet spot. If you have like 10, 15 minutes, I can jump in, I can play a hand, and then I can save my game and come back to it later without worrying about, okay, what was my build? What did I have? What do I have to go get? This, all that, and the other, right? I can just go in, play a hand of poker, have a great time, and we'll see if I make it to the next round. And that's just, wow, what a game. What a shock of a game.
Yeah.
It's got to be in my Game of the Year discussion this year. It is so cool.
Another cultural touchstone. Everybody loves it.
Yeah, right? It's definitely cool. It's a big surprise. I didn't see it coming. But guys, just like that, that's going to wrap up our show. We've been here each and every day, usually Monday night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. You can find all of our socials as well as our YouTube channel, Twitch channel over on itgtv.com. You can always hit us up over on Twitter as well. Let us know what game are you playing right now. Let us know how long is too long. Do you have a sweet spot? Do you have a sweet game to keep going back to? It just never ends over here. There's always something to talk about. But until tomorrow, we'll be back with ITG Daily. Make sure you check that out. Scott and I bring you the hottest in gaming news each and every day. So make sure you tune in. Until then, though, I'm Drew. That's Steve. That's Scott.
And we'll see you inside the game.